Today's talk is called Spiritual Busyness. And it came to me because a friend of mine, a beloved of mine, wrote me last night and said, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know, I don't have the courage or the focus or whatever to meditate or to listen to spiritual teachers or to breathe correctly. And I was so glad to respond to her because I've been through this. So what I want to say is that most of us have spent, I don't know, many lifetimes, I guess, or a lot of this lifetime at least, trying to learn how to do it right. And we have been taught that doing it right means how many minutes or hours you meditate, how many wise people you listen to until you know that you've become wise. And so I'm all for if it helps you remember. I'm all for saying, oh, maybe I should meditate for a few minutes. And that would get me back on track. And that's fine. But I want you to remember why we bother to meditate or why we bother to study or listen. Because it's not about, oh, I must be a good person because I meditate basically all day, or I stay in peace all day, or I've listened to enough and read enough wisdom. And what I think, I'll just say what's true for me, is that I used to do my version, which is different, and I'll put it on for you sometime. But I used to do my version of the microcosmic orbit every day. And sometimes, several times a day, just breathing up my spine and then out, and then, and that seemed important. But then I realized one day that all I had to do was think microcosmic orbit, and it would take me immediately to the peace, to the calm. And I really didn't even need to go through it. And in fact, another example kind of like that is that I used to try to meditate because that's what people do. But I found out that if I meditated too long, too much, too often, I would get so lit up that I couldn't function. I couldn't be a mother. I couldn't go to the grocery store. I couldn't do anything. And so all I had to do was think, peace. And I would just return there to that place of peace. And so I want all of you during this pandemic to be thinking about this, because so many of you have written to me and said, Spirit, I should be using this time to grow spiritually. And I'm happy if you want to do that. I couldn't care less. But what if you don't need to do that anymore? What if you are learning to hold the stillness, hold the peace, without having to go through all the motions and all the proof that you're a spiritual person? And so, don't think that it's about doing the processes. You do whatever processes you need to do to return you to the goal of meditating, which is to be in love, to be in peace. Just get out of your mind And a lot of times I find my students taking themselves out of their peace by being upset that they haven't done enough hours of spiritual process. So could you just think that maybe you've graduated, or maybe you don't need to do it as often, and maybe you don't need to prove anything to anybody. And so in some ways we're busier than ever during this pandemic. Many of you are. And some of you are bored to tears. And either way, you want to return to the center. Return to that place where you can hold the love. I've had 3 spiritual teachers, one from India, one a really well-known psychic, one a kahuna, a spiritual leader here in Hawaii. And all 3 have told me, all 3 of them, not knowing each other, but they've all told me, your only job, the most important job, is to be able to hold the love, hold the frequency of love, be able to hold the truth that whatever is happening right now is an expression of trying to get us to know our deepest truth. And so if you want to meditate more, please do. But if you don't feel guilty. That erases all your work that you've been doing all these years, all these lifetimes, because now I don't want to do it. If I've got extra time, I want to find somebody who needs the love. Or I want to cook a meal that nourishes my family while I stay in meditation. You know, there was a time when I went into 13 months, I think it was, of relative stillness. My children had grown up, most of them, and the younger ones were with their birth mom right then. And so I had gone to Florida to take care of my husband's mother, but she was busy and didn't want company. And so I spent almost all, I would say, I would once in a while say something to my husband, but not busy talk, not to fill up the silence. I just, after 20-something years of raising kids, I just wanted quiet. And oh my God, I can't even begin to tell you all the magic that happened when I just gave up talking for most of the time. Just gave up doing. So if somebody needed me, we were in Florida and our kids were on the West Coast, and so I would set aside Saturday mornings to talk to all my kids. Or if somebody really needed me the rest of the time, I would text them or I would answer their phone call. But I would say most of my time was spent not thinking, not doing, just being still. And when I came back and started teaching again, after his mom died, well, at first I thought, oh, I need to take a week of silence here, and I need to make sure that I'm in stillness for the next month. Then I found out, and I love this, that I can be doing and be still at the same moment. I don't need to prove to anybody, including myself, that I need to practice being spiritual. I need to learn to hold it all the time. And I don't. I don't hold it all the time. There are times when I get pulled into somebody's drama. There's times when I believe that something bad has happened. But all I have to do is remind myself. And so I'll say, oh, wouldn't it be better just to send love right now? And if I do that for 5 minutes, all the story drops away. All the shoulds, all the shouldn'ts drop away. And so I'm inviting you to know that you can have a life. You're not in the cave anymore. Well, I don't want to say that. I'll talk to you later, another time about the cave. But right now, what I'm required to do is be my most spiritual self, so to speak. At the same time, I am completely in my body, feeling every emotion, every thought. But it's so, what can I say? It's so, the degree of thought is so small now. It used to be that the thought took up my whole attention. And underneath that, if I went far, far, far down by meditating or whatever, I'd get to the peace. Now the story, the thought is about that thing. And it's transparent. And I can see through it. So I can say, oh, I was just worried about so-and-so. But I can just see through it all the way. And then there's this infinite depth of peace. And that way, when I do talk to people, I don't need to have answers. I don't need to know what to tell them. I'm just oozing. I'm oozing peace. I am sending back a message to them that they're a blessing. And then it's up to them whether or not they're ready for it. I don't need to convince anybody of anything. I don't need to know what's going to happen with the pandemic. Whatever is going to happen will happen. But it's not going to change by me trying to force anything, push anything. Anything that's supposed to happen will be because we raise our frequency. We raise our vibration to the place where peace just oozes out of us. And maybe the world's not ready for that. And the amazing thing is I don't care. It's not that I don't have compassion for people who are going through the really hard times. But the biggest gift I can give them is to remind them that nothing, absolutely nothing happens by accident. The biggest gift I can give them is to let go of all the shoulds in their life. And then at a certain point, the urge to do the microcosmic orbit will rise up in me, or the urge to meditate. But then I'm done. I'm done before I even get started, usually. I'm just already rewired. So I'm giving you my encouragement to just let things be easy. To let things be hard, but let it be easy that they're hard. Do you get that? That it's okay to be upset. It's okay to be in grieving. And it's okay to feel good and to feel happy, even when you're in grieving, or even when you don't know what's going to happen. So if you would like to join me in letting go of your spiritual shoulds, I would really enjoy that. I would like that. That would be much more fun.